Yo, we step up in the scene, check your engine is clean. DPF Guys got your ride smoking green. No block, no drag, just pure machine. Come show us your truck, we'll make it pristine. We just wanna know, can your diesel uphold? Bring something dirty, we'll turn it to gold.
All right, folks, welcome to DPF Guys live Q&A on a Sunday. This is episode number 41. I can't believe we've got 41 episodes in the can. I cannot wait until I get to episode 100. We're definitely making it there. We're trying something new today. Check this out, folks. If you haven't seen this before, I'm actually live on TikTok. And normally I've got a list of, 6, 8, 10 questions that are coming through the week that I answer, specifically for the people on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and LinkedIn. And then what I'll do is the people alive with me on TikTok would normally, they'd be second in line for the questions, get my sloppy second, so to speak. But what I'm going to do this week is try something brand new. I'm going to have no prepared questions. 100% of my questions are going to come in live, from TikTok or YouTube, wherever they happen to be. But we're going to start with TikTok over here. So I'm going to switch over to that, and I'm going to check to see if I've got any chats coming in. So if you're seeing this on TikTok, just type them into TikTok. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, fire your questions at me. I will take a peek at them once in a while. So, okay, let's get to business, get down to business here with the questions from TikTok. So first thing that came in was from Chicago. Large car. Does antifreeze hurt DPF filters? My EGR cooler failed and dumped antifreeze through it. Great question. Honestly, really a great question. So it won't, but with our cleaning process, we can bring those back. And antifreeze really won't hurt the DPF filter, but what it can hurt is the DOC. So the first thing that your exhaust flows through is the DOC, the diesel oxidation catalyst. That is basically the catalytic element, the cat, whatever you want to call it, that when you do a regen, the exhaust comes off the engine at about 700 degrees, 800 degrees, around there, which is toasty hot. You don't want to touch it. Don't stick your tongue on that. It'll burn. That's what she said. And but it's not hot enough to actually burn the soot off of the DPF. So you need to, during a regen, the engine will squirt a little extra diesel into the unburned diesel into the exhaust stream. It's either going to come through the 7th injector right after the turbo. And then with that hot exhaust and that little extra diesel fuel that hits the DOC will then bump that engine temperature around 700 or 800 degrees going in into 1,000 degrees coming out. And 1,000 degrees coming out of there is the right temperature to burn the soot off of your DPF. Why am I explaining this all? Of course, some trucks use in-cylinder injection. Don't worry about that. Basically, it still needs the DOC. So what makes the DOC do its magic when you do a regen is that it has catalytic metals in there, precious metals. And they are, write this down, platinum, palladium, and rhodium. And those three precious metals, that's why DOCs are so expensive, are what actually boosts the temperature up. So what can happen is if you really flood that DOC with coolant, those tiny nanoparticles of the platinum, palladium, and rhodium, which I like to say, are kind of a wash coat, and they're held in place with aluminum oxide, and that's kind of the adhesive that holds them inside the DOC material. Long story short, when you flood that thing with, when you flood that DOC with coolant, it can dissolve that aluminum oxide, to dissolve that coolant, or dissolve that adhesive, or dissolve that whatever that bonding agent and that wash agent, and then those precious metals can come loose and then fly downstream into your DOC. And how you can tell that this has happened, I have not actually seen a DOC fail because of this, but it can. How you can tell that that is affecting your system is that you will try to do a regen and it won't complete a regen because it does not, it'll say DOC efficiency or something like that. The DOC won't get hot enough to burn up the soot because the precious metals, platinum, palladium, and rhodium, have left the DOC, or at least a substantial number of them have actually come loose from the DOC, have gone downstream into the DPF. So the DPF is not hurt by this, but what will happen is, first of all, you'll notice that it's not regenerating properly. You'll do a regen with the computer hooked up. You'll look at the temperatures. The outlet temperature of the DOC is too low, but you'll see what's called a temperature inversion, which means that suddenly you're seeing high temperatures on the outlet side, the exhaust side, the outlet side of the DPF. Reason that is because those precious metals have jumped into the DPF. Now the DPF is behaving like a DOC. Other than the fact that the DPF will be hotter on the outlet side, it doesn't really hurt the DPF. But if the DOC gets washed out, gets flushed out like that, you need to replace the DOC. However, I've never seen that happen. The process we use for cleaning is we'll get coolant out of this stuff. I have never seen a DOC fail because of this, but in theory, it could. If the symptom you get once you get everything put back together is that you're not properly regenning and the temperatures on the DOC outlet side, and again, DOC outlet and DPF inlet are the same thing. They're both measuring the same things. Happens to do with what hole, whether the temperature probe is stuck into what would be the DOC or the DPF. They're only a couple inches apart. So answer your question, no, it won't damage the DPF. It may damage the DOC. Hopefully it doesn't, because that's just one more expensive thing you got to worry about. Okay, thank you for your question. So Chicago, you are awesome. I'm going to take some of these good questions, and somebody's going to win a hat. All right, so 2012 Freightliner, Hector Ramon. I'm going to pin your comment up here, Hector. Thanks for your question. 2012 Freightliner DPF filters price. You'd want to shoot us a call on that to make sure I can get your VIN, make sure you get the right filters for that. Really depends if you're going new or reman. I know reman filters for all the Detroits run about $600 plus the clamps and gaskets you're going to need for that. I think the new ones are brand new, $830, $860, something like that. And that's with a 3-year warranty. So give us a call. Hector, write down this phone number, 404-999-1361. And not to make assumptions, but due to the accents on your name, I would, if you would be more comfortable speaking Spanish, Genesis, Carlos, or Brian are very knowledgeable, and they all speak Spanish. We'd be happy to help you out. 404-999-1361. We can then talk about it. So Hector, thanks for your question. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Guys, thanks so much. I love the fact that I've got 44 people on here. It's not like 44 million like I would get if I was taking my shirt off, but hey, I have my pride. The Prince, what would he be? My step grandson, or I don't know what his name is Prince as well. Do you clean? So Prince asks, do you clean the DPF and DOC at your place and also bake them? Yes. So we're kind of an oddball. A lot of companies that won't bake every filter. They can kind of bait and switch you on price at that point. They'll say, "Oh, we'll clean your DPF for $99," and then like, "Oh, didn't quite come clean enough. We have to bake it. That's going to be another $200." And then they get that done, and they're like, "Hey, guess what? That didn't work at all. Now we've got to sell you a new DPF." So we work with some very large national fleets. In fact, a lot of our processes have been developed and designed by some of the engineering and maintenance departments of these large fleets, that we actually have to do a specific process for them. And lo and behold, yes, if you've got 5,000 trucks on the road, you get this extra secret special sauce treatment. But now we do the same thing for everybody. So if you're just an owner-operator with one truck, we're going to take care of you the same way that we take care of a multi-billion-dollar company. So yes, we do the work at our place. You really can't do it in the field. I believe some people say you can do it, but you really can't, not effectively at least. And so we're going to do an entire process. It's 10 steps. Your DPF is going to go through an air blast process with a vacuum. Um, and then it's going to go through a washing process. Your DOC will go through the air knife process in the vacuum. We don't wash the DOCs. We certainly can, but it just doesn't. The way that the DOC is designed, we can get everything out of it without washing it. So it's just an additional step that's not necessary. Sometimes we will wash a DOC if there's specific, criteria. It's plugged up in some way. But after that, everything is dried, and then it goes into a regeneration oven. And the reason we do that is when it goes into that oven, we've got, we're confident we've got almost everything out of it. But if some little particulates are hiding in there someplace, we want to burn them out of there. And then also it makes the filter look really nice, make it look brand new. And so, yes, we bake everything. The baking process takes about 13 hours. There's a ramp up where we're gonna take this filter, we're gonna ramp it up over a specific program time to 395 degrees, and then we're gonna ramp it up more slowly to 795 degrees. Kind of telling you all my trade secrets here, and then we go up to 1112 degrees, and we'll hold it there for 8 complete hours, which is a long time. We could probably do it shorter. We could probably do 6 hours, save ourselves a little bit on the electric bill. But we want to make sure that everything comes out of there super squeaky clean. And what we don't want to do is have a filter that comes out kind of partially clean, and then we have to rebake it. That takes more time. We want to make sure that, when we tell you that you can pick up your filters the next day at, before noon, we want to make sure we don't have to call you and say, oh, man, that thing didn't quite bake properly because we didn't bake it long enough. And I'm going to do it again. Come get it back the next day. So yes, we clean DPF and DOC at our place, and not just DPF and DOC, also SCRs if they need it. They don't often need it, but sometimes they do. And EGR coolers, EGR valves, and even charged air coolers. We don't have to clean those very often, but sometimes. So keep that in mind. All right, what else do we got here? Man, I love these questions. Okay, how do you know? Okay, it's how much for the price? They did it. Brandon, this is a wonderful question. Thank you very much. And by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't be shy. Type a question in the comments. I'll see it over here on my little computerizer here, and then away we go. All right, what do we got here? How do you know when a Freightliner Cascadia needs filter cleaning? So the Freightliner Cascadia, the manufacturer's recommended interval on that is 400,000 miles. And now, please understand that my industry, much like the pharmaceutical industry, will make recommendations that really work out in our favor more than yours. So if you talk to in fact, hold on, my mic's a little hot. I'm going to turn it down here. Okay. I don't want to be blowing your eardrums out on YouTube. So if you talk to our industry, we're going to tell people, get them cleaned every 150,000 miles. Now, that's actually based on real data, looking at a substantial number of trucks. And what these big fleets found is that when they clean the filters at 150,000, they might be cleaning some a little too soon, some right on time, some a little bit too late, depending on how they're driven. But when they look at the cost of the cleaning versus the benefits of the cleaning, 150,000 is the magic number. In my humble opinion, it's a little bit too aggressive. There's no harm, and you could get your DPFs cleaned every week if you wanted to. I don't know why you would want to, but you could. It's not going to hurt anything. So you're looking at a 400,000 mile interval on a Freightliner Cascadia with a Detroit engine in one box. Keep in mind that 400,000 number, when you buy a truck from a dealer, a used truck from a dealer that comes from a fleet, how many miles are usually on it? Around 400,000, right? Maybe 389, maybe 416, but it's going to be 400,000 miles. And so you sign the paperwork, grab your keys, put some diesel in the tank, and call dispatch and say you're ready to roll. And what do? You roll. You haul, you roll, you're going uphill, downhill, flatbed, dry van, or whatever you got, right? And that 400,000 turns to 450, 450 turns to 500, 500, so on and so forth. And pretty soon, what happens? You're at 600,000 miles, and the truck starts to bark at you. DPF issues, this and that. And you're like, oh my God, did I get a bad truck? No, you got a perfectly good truck, but all of the fleets out there, no matter what the dealer tells you, no matter what the sales guy tells you, they're going to unload that truck at about 400,000 miles, and they're going to do it before the DPF gets cleaned. And not really out of any malice for you as the second owner, but what's the point of them, cleaning that DPF or that one box right at the end of the truck, of that 400,000 mile cycle, and maybe they only drive it 10, 20,000 miles, and then you get the benefit of it. They'd rather sell you a truck and have you worry about the DPF clean. So when I get the call from somebody who says, man, I bought this, this truck from a fleet, I'm like, what was the fleet? And, I can't say the name, but it might rhyme with, spider and be orange. But they move a lot of trucks. They've got a lot of trucks in their fleet, and they all go at about 400,000 miles, perfectly maintained. They're great trucks, great deal from a great company. But you're going to want to, if you buy a used Freightliner Cascadia with 400,000 miles on it, basically plan on taking that thing to get it in cleaned about that amount of time. That all being said, man, I have a tendency to ramble. I apologize. But that being said, how do you know when your truck is, when it's time, whether it be a Freightliner or another truck? You can go by miles, of course. But what I tell people is if the truck ever calls for a parked regen, really what it's calling for is a DPF cleaning. So, basically watch your miles. And when people tell me how often they should get it done, I say, think about it at 200,000 miles, which means, if you get it done at 300 or so, you're good. But on a Cascadia with a Detroit, that one box is kind of almost like 2 for the price of 1, or maybe 2 for the price of 9, depending on what you're doing to the one box. But it does have 2 DPFs, 2 DOCs, 2 SCRs, and which is why they can push that thing to almost 400,000 miles before it needs to get cleaned. We recommend doing the entire one box. I'm going to answer a question you haven't asked, which is, can I just clean the filters? The answer is yes, you can absolutely just clean the filters on a Freightliner with a one box. But here's the deal. If we clean a one box in a Freightliner Cascadia, I'm going to use my sales training and talk about all the value first before I talk about price, but it's $1,700, okay? $1,685. But what we're going to do is, the whole one box gets pulled off the truck, which is quite easy. It's 8 bolts. You disconnect the sensors. Don't take the sensors out of the one box. Drop the whole thing down. We pick it up. You ship it to us, whatever it is. And then we get that thing in, and we're going to tear it all apart. And when we do that, that means we can clean not just the DPFs, we're going to clean the DOCs, get that face plug off, and get all that soot that's building up on that outside of those DOCs, building up inside that DOC inlet chamber inside the one box. We're also going to clean up all of the DEF that's built up in that decomposition chamber, that tube that the DEF sprays into. We're going to blow all of the crap out of the SCR, and then we're going to put everything back together, and it goes back on the truck. And most people would just pull the filters out and clean those. And you can do that. I mean, the thing is, I have no objection to somebody sending me 2 filters or bringing me 2 filters from a Detroit to have me clean them. But what you want to keep in mind is the labor to remove and reinstall them is going to be no less. In fact, it might be even more, because it's actually, once a mechanic, once we show a mechanic how to take off the entire one box, if they haven't done it before, almost all of the guns going to do this from now on. It's way easier to drop that whole thing off. They don't have to contort themselves and deal with, this rusty shit inside the one box. But so if you just do the filters, you're going to have to clean 2 DPFs at about $300 a piece. What does that cost you? $600. And then you're going to need 2 of the big, what we call double bolt clamps. And those are, every bit of, I don't know what Freightliner gets for them now, $116 or so. Let's say they're $100 a piece. So now you got 600 plus these two clamps at 100. So that's 800. And then you have a V clamp and a crush gasket on the other side. And let's say it's another, $200. I don't know, just round numbers, right? So you've got 600 for the cleaning, and let's say another 400 plus or minus, another $400 for the clamps and gaskets. plus some bolts and clips and what have you. Now, what does it total to? About $1,000, and you can get the whole one box done for $600-700 more, and it's a better job. You get more done. You get more. It's cleaner. Everything's clean versus just the filters. And I think the thing that I learned recently is I have seen many one boxes where they just got the filters done by somebody else, and it's such a struggle to get the filters in there and get them to line up. Your odds are you're going to have an exhaust leak inside that one box. And best case scenario there is it doesn't properly regen because that hot exhaust isn't going where it needs to go. And sometimes the exhaust leaks don't show up until weeks or months later. Worst case scenario is an exhaust leak in your one box can start your truck on fire, and I've seen that more than once. So I really do like doing the whole one box versus just the filters. We can do a better job, a more thorough job, and we can also guarantee that things are reassembled much more completely, because when we're putting that one box back together in the shop versus on the truck, we're doing it like they do on the assembly line, and we can make sure that everything is perfectly aligned. We have tools to measure all the gaps and everything like that. But if you're going to be stubborn and just send me 2 filters, I will absolutely take care of it, and you and I will still be good friends. All right, what else do we got here? Thank you, everybody who's on here, man. We got 13 people hanging out with me. I sure love that. All right. So how do you know when a Freightliner Cascadia needs filter cleaning? Look at the mileage. If you've got 500,000 miles on that thing and haven't gotten it cleaned, it's time. And also keep in mind that your ACM, your after treatment control module, will start throwing filter codes just based upon how many engine hours the truck has. So, you might have a truck that the DPFs are actually not that bad, but the truck is calling for a cleaning simply because it's just the number of miles on it. So, or hours, or however they keep track of that. And then Hector Ramon, make sure you give me a text or a call. Let's take a look at these questions here. Let's see. This is another one. Cheap freight hauler, recommended cleaning interval, EPA 21 pack hour, 200,000 miles. Now, if you're, and again, 200 might mean 250, 275, 300. I would say do it before 300, every 300,000 miles at the very least. And unless you're using an additive like Clean Air Fleet, which I talk about all the time. In fact, we got a 10% off for anybody on this live. If you want to get some Clean Air Fleet, make sure you let me know, and we'll take care of you and give you 10% off, which will kind of almost cover shipping. So EPA 21 pack hour. How many miles? Cheap freight hauler, are you still here? How many miles are on your pack hour right now? Brandon, I actually just talked about this. So, like anything, these numbers might, change if need be, but they've been pretty stable for a couple of years. So full service on a 2018 Freightliner Cascadia will run you about $1,700. Plus maybe some tax and maybe a 4% credit card fee. And again, it might be $1,685. It's some round, but to round it up, $1,700. That is once it is off. Once it's off the truck. So if you pull it off the truck, your mechanic pulls it off the truck, that's perfectly fine. If you need me to introduce you to somebody who can pull that thing off the truck, I can definitely do that. So about $1,700 for a one box. And I talked about, what we all do for that. And if you just want to send us filters, you can, but definitely do the whole thing. Okay. Looking. And again, if you could tap on my big fat face, give me a like. I'd much appreciate it. JD Green 420, good to see you. I love your Caterpillar logo. Thank you for all the likes. Keep them coming. Bought my Cascadia new. I got 265,000. Andre, Detroit or X15 in there? If it's a Detroit, I would say I would plan on getting that thing in for a cleaning in the next 100,000 miles. So, 365,000, 400,000. You won't miss a beat if you get it done around 400,000, and then run an additive, and you can go even further. But you're good for now. I wouldn't worry about it for now. I'm not, Andre says, should I clean it at 265,000? I'd say it's a little soon. I'd put another 100,000 on that thing, at least another 50,000. Because why not just squeeze as much life out of that thing as you can? But I would say, plan on coming to Atlanta and visiting us sometime, however long it takes to get to 365, 400,000. You'll be right on time. What system does Scania use? I've been doing a lot of research on the Scania because, that's pretty astounding that they can have a diesel engine that can pass the EPA regulations and not require a DPF. I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something right. But I don't know. That's as soon as I know more, I'm going to write an article about it. If you go to the DPF Guys website, dpfguys.com, and poke around, we've got a lot of good articles that I've written. Because I think they're good. They're kind of fun to read, fun to write. And I do want to do an article on the Scania, but I don't know enough about it right now, and I'm really digging into this. I might actually get somebody on the show at some point from Scania to actually talk about this. What aftermarket filters do we sell? So everything we sell is made in the U.S., and our lead supplier is out of Dublin, Georgia. It's actually Dynex, or we'll sell Skyline. Both are excellent, and Skyline's out of Pennsylvania. I do like, we do stock a lot of filters, but it's nice having the manufacturer just down the road. So if I have a problem, I can literally go down there and walk up to the machine and go, why is this doing this? They can send an engineer to our facility if they need to very easily. So, and both Skyline and Dynex, very good products, very good companies, and both have a 3-year warranty. And the Skyline ones, due to our volume, are a little more expensive, but not bad. Okay, so this is going to be one that I'm going to kind of lean on. All right, sir, I'm going to pin you up here. How often do you change the DEF filter for the Cascadia liquid? I'm assuming you mean the actual DEF fluid filter. I think I heard that they recommend changing that when you get your oil change. And or is it once a year? That's a question for people smarter than me out there. So anybody out there who knows how often they should change their DEF filter, that would be great to know. And Kabul, my phone number is, I have a pen handy, is 404-999-1361. And I think if you just say, Alexa, what is the phone number for DPF Guys in Atlanta? She's not listening to me. Seriously, I'm curious. Alexa, what is the DPF Guys phone number? So Alexa knows. If you need her phone number, if you forget my phone number, ask Siri, Alexa, Google, and they'll definitely find it. But it's 404-999-1361. I've actually had a couple of questions come in via text, so I'm going to take a look at those as well. So Kabul from Illinois. Where's Bridgewater? How close is that to Sycamore? I own a hotel in Sycamore. 404-999-1361. The Prince. What do you think about bulletproof EGR coolers? Now, I normally will, we clean EGR coolers, and we've got pretty good luck with them, and we test them for leaks before and after and everything else. But sometimes it's so plugged up and they can't be cleaned and they have to be replaced. I don't have any direct experience with any of the aftermarket EGR coolers because we don't really sell them. Basically, I'll give the EGR cooler back. I'm sorry, we can't clean it. And then they go buy another one from wherever they get it, from the dealership or from eBay or from the junkyard. So I don't have an opinion about the bulletproof EGR coolers. I was actually at was it the North American Truck Show or whatever it is, and I think it was Bulletproof that was there, and I was very curious because I'd like to actually carry some replacement EGR coolers. They've got a good warranty, and as long as that thing doesn't leak, you're in good shape. So I don't have an opinion on them because I've never used them, but if they've got a good warranty, I definitely, I wouldn't hesitate to use an aftermarket EGR cooler. Now, some people might disagree with me, but I've actually seen the design of that bulletproof one, and it seems to be even a bit smarter than the manufacturer as far as the design of the fins inside, how it might build up soot in the future. I'll find out. I'll be, working more with them in the future, but I'd say give them a try, and go from there. Andre, Detroit. Yeah, so you've got a one box in there. I would definitely push that thing up close to 400,000 miles before he came and saw us. I don't want to miss any of your questions. If I did, please, accept my apologies in advance here. Thank you for liking the live. Everybody who's liked the live, like it again. Kabul, my pleasure. Truck Parking Club. Hey, are you still there, Truck Parking Club? I've got a guy parked in our lot. He'll be there 2 months. And everybody that comes in, I talk to him about Truck Parking Club. I have an affiliate link that I need to share here for Truck Parking Club. I make like $5 when you sign up and book or whatever. It's not a lot, but you get like a $25 discount for using my affiliate code. So Truck Parking Club, I need to apologize that I don't have the spiel down pat yet for you, but I've got to do that and really start pushing this up because Truck Parking Club is a great company, really nice people. 64 miles away from Sycamore. Yeah, I had a hotel called the Jane Fargo. It was a boutique hotel with a martini lounge and a steakhouse. And man, owning a hotel is never-ending stories. My favorite was we had 2 suites. We had one was the Sinatra suite. One was some other 1940s person suite. I always slept in the Sinatra suite. But once we had a movie crew on site, actually TV show. They were filming down the street from us. And so all the actors and actresses were there. And I tell you what, if those walls could talk, there were some shenanigans happening. I'm a fan of shenanigans, believe me. I tell you what, I'm from Wisconsin, and I would love to take you up on that. I'm a screenshot. That's a verbal contract. What's a good place in Bridgeview? What's a good place to eat there? I mean, I tell you, I like South Chicago. I love the Polish restaurants. I love the Middle Eastern stuff. I mean, you name it. I like food. I eat it almost every day. Danger Doctor, hey, how you doing? Good to see everybody here. And good question. Would you expand your business? Yes, that is actually, we're in the process of doing that now. That was actually the goal of starting this facility in Atlanta, which is to not just serve the trucking industry, which is very strong in Atlanta. I think, we're one of the 3rd largest trucking markets in the, in the U.S. But what we're doing is the facility in Atlanta is kind of a test bed for processes and technology and, all that stuff. And so, yes, we are looking to expand and help people. Actually, we would like to have some, actual corporate-owned stores, but ideally help other people who would like to get involved in this business, start doing what we're doing under our brand and help you get up and running and profitable and running smoothly. So if anybody out there would be interested in getting learning more about what DPF Guys is doing for our franchise plans and things like that, text us 404-999-1361 so I can make sure that you are the first to know. We can actually, if you give us an address that you're interested in, we have some data analysis tools where we can look to see what your market is, do some revenue projections off of that, and and go from there. Kabul Kebab, oh my God, I tell you what, this is anything with kebab in the name is I am a fan. So I'm going to figure out a way to get up by Bridgeview, Illinois. Maybe next time I go to Wisconsin, I'll drive, and I would stop in Cincinnati, visit my brother about halfway there, and then take a leisurely trip through Illinois and stop in for some delicious Middle Eastern food. Oh man. My wife, Maria, is actually Filipina, but she actually worked in Lebanon for quite some time and lived with a family, and they taught her all about how to cook and the grape leaves and all of that stuff, and toasting the rice and making the tzatziki and all that, or whatever the sauce is. Probably not tzatziki, that's Greek, but similar. So thank you for the invite, and I hope I can take advantage of your hospitality and enjoy your delicious food at some point in the near future. Fontana, California. I think that would be a great location. I would be, I'm going to screenshot that, and later tonight or tomorrow, I'm going to do a little bit of, I'm going to run that through our market analysis treadmill, and Kabul, well, isn't, oh man, I'm just going to shut up because I'm going to expose my Western ignorance. That sounds even better because, man, Asian, well, yeah, because that whole area is considered Asia, right? I mean, that's India, it's Asia, etc. Whatever it is delicious, I am sure. So I apologize for my ignorance of the globe. Tommy Stafford, welcome. Central Asia. Look, I know where Minnesota is. Does that help? Cool, man. I tell you what, I'm going to let's make sure that anybody who is looking to retire from the trucking industry and sell off their authority and become a DPF guy, I'm the one to talk to. That's I tell you, you're making me hungry. Let's see. Do me a favor. Let's see here. How can I do this? I'm trying to figure out a way. Yeah, so cool. That sounds good. I have a DPF cleaning machine, cleans in 50 minutes. So we use different equipment, and there's a lot of, there's some pretty decent equipment out there. But what we do is a little different, so that it's a bit more scalable. Again, everything, the equipment out there all works pretty darn well, actually, but there's different use cases, and the equipment we use allows us to basically clean anything. And yes, it can be a little more manual at times, but you can bring me some oddball thing off of some machine that I've never seen before, and there's no reason we can't clean it. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, let's talk tomorrow. Absolutely, I'd love to learn more about what you're doing. I clean my DPF filters. Okay, let's talk about what you got going on here. I'm going to pin this, and I'm going to turn and look over here, see if I got. No, nobody on YouTube has asked. What's up with you guys on YouTube? The TikTok people are crushing it. The YouTube people are being pikers. Hold on, I got to drink my tea. And there may or may not be some bourbon in this. Only I know. All right, so I clean my DPF filters. We got engine light, no problems since 3 months. Danger Docker, so tell me about your vehicle. What sort of truck do you have? Assuming it's a truck. And what year is it? And that's really it. And then while you ponder on that, I'm going to jump over to check and see if we got a couple of text messages in here. Bear with me. All right, what do we got? Okay, so screenshot that. Okay, I just jumped off so I could get a copy of that. Good night, brother. Kabul Kebab, I'm excited to learn more about you and your business and your restaurant and your DPF cleaning machine. Let's talk more. I just got a text in here about a Freightliner Cascadia. I'm going to message him back asking some questions about his make, model, year, and that sort of stuff. All right, so how much to clean a Kenworth T680 with an X15? DOC and DPF, and kind of take this as a round number, but plan on spending about $125 for the DOC. You want to clean the DOC, and about $295, $300 on the DPF. So, what does that put you at? $420, $425, under $500 to clean both of those, and then you're going to need new gaskets for sure, and probably new clamps. Now, we do offer a 1-year warranty on all of our cleanings, but if you don't purchase new clamps or gaskets, of course, you need gaskets no matter what. That warranty doesn't apply to you. And the reason we do that is because we don't want to have any clamps that are old, rusty, possibly causing exhaust leaks. So a 1-year warranty with new clamps. So $420 plus clamps and gaskets. You're probably looking at $200 for clamps and gaskets, $250. So out the door, $6 and change, maybe $700. And then now that's for cleaning work. We do all of our cleanings once everything is off the truck. So you would take it off yourself, have your mechanic take it off, or we would introduce you to our good friend James Boshears, and he would actually take everything off the truck. He's going to do 3 R's, like a pirate. R. First R is removal. Take everything off. He'll meet you at the shop. You bring the truck to us. He'll meet you at our place. He'll take everything off. He brings it inside. We immediately start cleaning it. It's normally done, ready to go back in the truck the next morning, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. James will then come back, put everything back on, and then put the side the shrouds on, all that type of stuff, fairings. Get your truck put back together, and then walk around to the cab, plug in his computer, reset the codes, regen the truck. So he'll do the removal. That's R number 1. He'll do the reset. That's R number 2, and then he will do the reinstallation. It's R number 2, and then the reset and regeneration. That's the 3rd and possibly 4th R. So anyway, so $400 or $500 for the cleaning, a couple $100 for the parts, plus the mechanic. Oh my God, a Cummins 6.7 question. I love you long time. I can't wait to answer that. So I'll make sure I'm not missing anything. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for all the likes. Much appreciated. Don't be shy. Like me more. Like me hard. All right, what do we got here? Thank you. Okay, I hope there is more than one person on this live right now that has a truck with a Cummins 6.7 engine. And that's going to mean, if my memory serves me correctly, you're looking at a Freightliner M2 with a Cummins 6.7 engine, a International 4300 with a Cummins 6.7 engine, or potentially a Ford F750 with a Cummins 6.7 engine. And one of the things with a Cummins 6.7 engine, I don't know how many times I can say Cummins 6.7 engine in one sentence, but the one thing is, there is absolutely, without fail, that engine will need, not may need, will need new injectors at about 250,000 miles. Again, if you didn't hear me the first time, Cummins 6.7 engine in a Freightliner M2, International 4300, or Ford F750, the Cummins 6.7, those will need a 6-pack of injectors at 250,000 miles. Now, again, maybe 249,000 miles, maybe 256,000 miles, but at 250,000 miles, just get the injectors replaced, because what's going to happen is the injectors start to fail, they leak, they overfuel, and they make a mess of everything downstream. They plug up the EGR cooler, they load up the DOC, they'll face plug the DOC, they'll plug up the DPF, or over time, because that overfueling will overheat and crack the DPF, the DPF not only gets really dirty, it'll crack, and then that soot starts going down line, and guess what? It goes to visit the SCR. The SCR gets plugged up with soot. It's called poisoning, and then the SCR doesn't work properly, and now you have SCR issues. So if you have a Cummins 6.7 and you're having DPF issues, and you have not replaced the injectors or done it, an engine rebuild will replace the injectors. 250,000 miles, replace the injectors before you do anything else. I know that's no joke. It's not cheap, and I don't sell injectors. I'm not trying to upsell people on injectors, right? But when I have a 6.7 come in, I can look at that DPF and I can tell you that your injectors are bad. And I will normally tell people that I won't even clean their DPF unless they get the injectors done. And a lot of times they're like, please, Mr. DPF guy, just clean my DPF. I'm like, okay, but when you come back here in 500 miles and this thing is plugged up again, and you look me in the eye and go, my DPF is dirty again, what are you going to do about it? I'm going to tell you a story, and I'll tell it to you now, and I'll tell it to you again if you ever get your filter, your DPF cleaner come at 6.7. I'm like, well, look, what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to remind you that I told you that this would happen. And I'm going to, I'll blow that thing out. I'm not going to charge you for it. You might need to pay for some gaskets. You reuse the clamps because it's probably in great shape. And you can put this thing back on the truck. I'm not going to add insult to injury, but you need to replace those injectors. And I have one customer who I think is, I gave him what's called a Charlie Bravo. And you can look that up on Urban Dictionary, mainly. But CB, Charlie Bravo, stands for courtesy blow. So if you've got a Cummins 6.7, you come to us, that DPF is all jacked up, and I'm going to warn you, you're probably not going to make it 1,000 miles when this thing is jacked up again. You come in, and I say, I told you need new injectors, but we'll give you a Charlie Bravo courtesy blow. Blow that soot out just on the surface, but we put that thing back in, you're not going to make it 500, 600, 700 miles. You'll be coming back again. I've got one guy, and while we did give him a courtesy blow the first couple of times, now we're charging him because I'm like, look, and so he would rather get his DPF cleaned and pay for it every 700, 800, 900 miles than to replace his injectors. So it's just, we basically become, he puts DEF in his tank and gets his DPF clean. I think it's crazy, but Cummins 6.7 will run wonderfully. but that thing will absolutely poop the bed at 250,000 miles, and we'll need a 6-pack of injectors. But you might say, James, DPF guy, what if just one injector is bad? Well, first of all, to find out which injector is bad, because this will not, a 6.7 with failing injectors will not make a peep of a code. It won't tell you which injector is bad. You can maybe guess by listening or doing some sort of compression thing. But so what can you do? You take them off, you bring them someplace, you pay $400 or $500 to get them tested, and they tell you that injector 1 and injector 3 are bad. The rest are okay. Well, guess what? The other ones are right behind it. So if you only buy 2 injectors, go through all the trouble of putting them back in again, maybe you'll be good for a few days or weeks or whatever it is, but you can do the exact same thing. So 250,000 miles, get new injectors in that thing, get your DPF clean, get your DOC clean, you're good for another 250,000 miles. And then guess what? Injectors. And yet that is the saga of the Cummins 6.7. And the 6.7, when the injectors are shitty like that, they plug up their EGR cooler like you would not believe. It'll drop a chunk of coal in the middle of that thing. And really, nothing we do can get that stuff out. And you just need your EGR cooler. So there's a long, long story. So 6.7, 250,000 miles, get new injectors. Or get your DPF cleaned over and over again. Thank you for liking the live. Everybody who liked the live, you're my new best friends. Like it again. So, hey, the most common issue coming 6.7, worn injectors at 250,000 miles. And a mechanic who's not aware of this will fight with you tooth and nail to say, there's no codes, it can't be injectors. It is. And I've seen it, I'd say 100 times. Maybe not 100, maybe 64 times, but it's just so predictable. 6.7, good truck, injectors at 250,000 miles. The dickhead of life. I like your name. All right, what else we got here? Okay. What is my advice for a DD15 running to 1,000,000 miles? If it's a 2016, you probably have you replaced your one box yet? Because if it's an early 2016, it's essentially a 2015, which means your one box is probably smoked. However, if you're not getting, let me have a sip of my tea. Jeremy McGowan, my friend and business partner, if you're watching, here's to you. All right. Oh, that's so good. Okay, so if anybody out there has got a 2015 Freightliner Cascadia with a DD13 or DD15 engine, and you are experiencing the following issue, so I have your attention. If you've got a 2014, 15, 16 Freightliner Cascadia with a DD13 or DD15 engine, this is going to be all of 2015 and basically tail end of 2014, because that's basically 2015, or the first half of 2016, which is a 2015. Those trucks were produced with what is called a hot fuel map. And it doesn't mean sexy, just means it was overfueling the engine just enough to produce excess heat down in the one box for an extended period of time. And what that would do is burn out the catalytic metals in the SCR, the selective catalytic reducer. Now, on many trucks that don't have a one box, you can replace the SCR separately. On a Freightliner Cascadia, the DD13 or DD15 engine, if you damage a filter, no big deal. Damage a sensor, no big deal. It's going to be replaced. You damage your SCR or your DOC, you are SOL. You've got to, because they're built into the one box, you have to replace the entire one box. So the question is, if I've got a 2015, again, late 14, early 16, Freightliner Cascadia with a Detroit DD13, DD15 engine, and how do I know if I've got a problem or not? And so, first of all, someone's got a 2015, 16, 14, and they call about a cleaning, I just, politely shut them down and say, hey, let me ask you a couple of questions. Are you experiencing the following symptom? Pay attention. The following symptom is for a 2015 Freightliner Cascadia that has this issue. And I've got to tell TikTok that I am alive. There, I'm alive. Thank you for the likes. You guys are awesome. Send me the hearts. I love a heart on my screen. Anyway, so here's the symptom. And it will be that if the truck is bobtail or lightly loaded on a flat road where you're not going against a stiff wind or anything like that, truck runs pretty good. Runs really good. No codes, no nothing. Well, all of a sudden you pull up to the dock, you pick up a trailer with 20, 30, 40,000 pounds in it, and you start to motor up a grade. All of a sudden, you're going to get one or all of the following type stuff. It's going to say DEF quality. You'll get a DEF quality code. The truck will derate. You'll get SCR efficiency, NOx conversion, something like that. You might get one of them. You might get two. You might get all of them. And what do? You pull over, do a regen. Well, by the time you pull over, you're kind of at the top of the hill. Regen the truck, and you're going downhill. Truck runs great. Drop off your load, your bobtail. Everything's fine. Pick up a load again, or you're on a road, wind is blowing, and you're fighting the wind, truck's laboring. Bam, DEF quality, SCR efficiency, NOx conversion, derate. And so what do? Drop off your load, make an appointment at the dealership, pull in bobtail. You spend $500-600 on diagnostics. They pop a new outlet NOx sensor on that thing for $600-700. So what? $3,000 later, you're out of there. $2,000 later, and what are you? Your dealer didn't give you a 20,000-pound load to haul out of the bay. You're backing out, pulling out of that dealership bobtail. Truck's running great. Wallet's a little lighter. Truck's running great. You're like, whoo, man to man. My truck's all fixed up. Let's go. You pick up the load, go up a hill, ding, 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 DEF quality, SCR efficiency, NOx conversion, whoops-a-doodle. You go back to the dealership, they monkey around, they replace the inlet NOx sensor, they do whatever, they replace this, replace that, they scratch their balls, and then you got another $3,000-4,000 bill. Or they tell you need a new one box. Or you go in and they, because you have the DEF quality code, they replace your DEF header for $1,300, $1,500 plus labor, time, and ball scratching. And Brian Bond, we're talking about scratching balls. It's amazing that you showed up right at that time. So if you've got a 2015, or in Brian's case, you have a 2016, and you have that DEF quality code, you have an SCR efficiency of NOx conversion, and it happens when the truck is working, not bobtail, it's just telling you need to do one box. Now, you were asking me, how do I get Brian, sent me lightning. You are a god. Thank you very much. He's got the #1 gifter badge. But so you could push a 2016 to 1 million miles. But you need to make sure that the one box is replaced if it needs to be. Again, if you've got second half of 2016, you probably aren't affected by this hot fuel map. But so let's say your one box is not an issue. You can go, whew, that's good. So what do you want to do? Obviously, good maintenance on the truck. Keep your filters clean, keep your oil filter clean, your fuel filters clean. I can talk about some stuff you do above and beyond, like using an additive, using the 1 micron fuel filters and oil filters. But let's all of that aside. Make sure that you have all of your ACM, ECM, all of your control modules, all of your computers have the latest software on them. And then, again, air filter, absolutely, Charlie, air filter. Make sure that you get an overhead done. Get your valve adjustment done. Because if your valves are out of adjustment, and this should be done every 600,000 miles, you will have an issue where you'll get low compression in one or more cylinders. That can cause incomplete burn of fuel, which means unburned fuel can work its way into the exhaust system and cause excessive heat downstream, can crack DPFs, can damage SCRs. So make sure you get your overheads done. It should be done at 600,000 basically every 600,000, every 500,000. 600,000 miles, somewhere there. Make sure all of your computers are updated with the latest software. And last but not least, there is there's a oil uptake tube that dips into your oil pan where it sucks the oil up in the engine. From what I understand, again, I'm a DPF guy, I'm not a mechanic, but this is people ask what they recommend for maintenance. That has a tendency to crack and kind of fall apart at about 700,000 miles. And what happens is, obviously, if the straw that's sucking the milkshake out of the body, out of the oil pan, if that breaks, there, pickup tube, O-rings, there you go. That pickup tube isn't picking up anymore. The truck should shut down, but if you try to crank it up again, you're going to blow up your engine. So yes, the pickup tube. Make sure your overhead's done. Make sure that you're using, keeping your air filters clean, your fuel filter clean. Make sure that you have, I said overhead, right? The pickup tube. Make sure all your control modules have the latest software, and then you should be pretty good. Brian, do you have any suggestions as far as getting 1 million miles out of your rig? You've got a 2016. I think you can get 1 million miles out of that thing for sure, unless you retired from trucking before that. Bypass oil filter. Yeah, that's why I said there's some stuff you can do kind of above and beyond running a good fuel additive, such as clean air fleet, or more intense oil filtering of doing 1 micron oil filtration, doing good fuel filtration. But even if you keep everything stock, make sure your software, all your control modules are updated. Make sure that pickup tube is replaced before 700,000 miles. Make sure you get an overhead done, a valve adjustment done, and then that's really it. Mara, hey Mara, welcome aboard. Mara, would you, if I invited you to join me, would you join me? It would be an honor to have you. Mara is from Wisconsin, so we've got the cheese bond going on here. Tire air pressure. Tell me about that, Brian. I have Mara. I'm gonna. Did you see the video I posted last night with a bunch of codes from a guy that's actually stuck in Phoenix? If you haven't watched it, I was going to text it over to you, but I didn't want to pester you. Watch that video. I'll text it to you as well. But I listed all the codes he has. I suspect it's his DEF header, but I thought, being that you really are a whiz when it comes to diagnostics, I'd love to have you look at his codes and get your feedback on that. Mara, do you have any suggestions for somebody who says, I've got a 2016 Freightliner, assuming their one box is good? Go check that out. I can text you the actual screenshot of his codes too. But if you watch that video, I list off every code in a very sultry voice. So I've got that going for me. I got a question, which is, how can I get 1 million miles in my 2016? Basically pickup tube, get your overhead done, keep your filters clean, air filter, fuel filter, keep your oil changed, and make sure that all of your control modules have the latest software updates on them. 3936 FMI 18. Oh man, that sounds like I'm gonna get PSD. I'm gonna get PSD for that. Don't idle. Or idle as little as possible. An APU, man, as fuel prices go up and the cost of maintenance goes up, the effective price of an APU just goes down. An APU is worth it. I don't know. I'm looking at some electric APUs. Maybe in spring we're going to start selling them. But I tell you what, man, an APU will pay for itself in fuel in less than a year. And when you factor in the saving in maintenance, oh my God, I mean, it's. So here we go. My first one about the EPA. The EPA has not destroyed the diesel. Oh yeah, I guess any government agency has not helped an industry. Does not, whether they're seizing your squirrel and raccoon. Um, has anybody heard about Peanut the squirrel and the raccoon? It's a BS story, man. 2016 mobile sentence death message and limited speed. Aha! This is a good one. Okay, we got a 2016 Volvo. So, Jordan, my friend, when was the last time you had your DPF cleaned on that thing, and how many miles are on that truck? Because I could, while you type that in, while your thumbs are busy answering that question, I will tell you that my humble opinion is that the some of the best after treatment systems out there are Volvos and Macs. Rock solid. They're all pretty good, but the Volvo Mac one is probably the most bomb-proof one. So death message limited. So I mean, it's you could very easily, because what happens with those Volvos and Macs is they take a licking and keep on ticking until they don't. And when we clean them, they'll have literally pounds of ash in the DPF. But like in your case, you might have a SCR, a selective catalytic reducer, which is that on your truck is like that cube. And 1.4 million miles. Holy crapola! Yeah, I mean the DEF filter. Oh, Mara, I had a question earlier, which is how often should you replace that DEF filter? And someone told me once, I don't know, every time you get an oil change or once a year, how often should you replace the DEF filter? I know it's not an expensive filter, but if that thing plugs up, it's going to cause issues down the line. So Mara, how often should you replace the DEF filter? So Jordan, 1.4 million, and when's the last time you had the DPF on that thing cleaned? Yeah, so Jay, I would imagine you do a ton of idling, and those trucks probably put around. They're not, you're not actually hauling, you're training, so your trucks really don't run long and hard. And I would say that one of the things that I would do if I were you is, being that you're in Michigan and you're not too far away from the home of Clean Air Fleet, Jay, I would think very, very seriously about using an additive in that truck. What that will do is will cause the truck to burn the fuel much more efficiently. It'll produce less soot and will cause far fewer DPF issues. So yes, in trucking school, I can imagine how much DPF is a pain in the ass. But run an additive, and you could reduce that. Instead of being a pain in both ass cheeks, it might be a pain in only one. Yeah, that's actually, Mara, that's a good point. Once a year. Okay, so the answer from Mara, who is somebody who I trust, is if you don't have the manual, you don't know, change it once a year. So kind of like the batteries in your smoke detector. Well, of course, that's twice a year when there's a time change. But basically, New Year's Eve, make it a party, change your DEF filter once a year. Just write it down. Do it every 12 months, or every 12 months, or once a year, whatever comes first. And then Mara makes a good point here. Hold on a second. If you can't get around the idle time, then do your maintenance based on engine hours, not miles. Yes. So, people are asking how often should I get it done? 200,000 miles, 150,000 miles. So basically just take your engine hours, multiply that times about 50, 55, something like that. And that will give you equivalent miles. And just work around that. So this is, so if if regen doesn't fix it, I mean, I just think you have a DPF that needs to be cleaned. This is you're really, the story you're telling me is very, very similar to what I hear with Volvo and Mac people, because unlike other trucks that might start to, complain about having a full DPF at a couple 100,000 miles, 200,000 miles, the Volvo and Mac can go so long, you almost forget that they have a DPF. So, I've seen them come in at 900,000 miles here, 1,000,004. That's a lot, but I've had them come in at 900,000 plus or minus, never having got the DPF clean before. But all of a sudden, it starts to give them trouble. What do? They keep firing regens at this thing, and it doesn't work because what happens is the DPF in a Volvo or Mac is no longer. It's not filled with soot. It's filled up to the top with ash, and ash is burned soot. You can't burn the ash anymore. So a regen isn't going to help you, especially if the regens aren't working. I would say you need a new DPF, a DPF cleaning. Come to Atlanta. Let's see if we can help you out. Let's see, my nose is running. After I talk for a while, my nose runs strong. 2014 Cascadia. I heard if it's idle more, get more DEF problem. Yeah, it's heavy idling without a lot of highway time can definitely cause, doesn't help. And sometimes people will go, I'm just not gonna idle at all. I'm like, well, if you're gonna sleep in the thing, you need to be cool, you need to be warm. You need to be cool if it's hot out, you need to be warm if it's cool out. So don't sacrifice your health and well-being just to protect your DPF. But understand that if you do idle a lot, it can definitely be a source of, can shorten the time spent between cleanings. Just kind of, like my brother always says, listen to your body. And my body will often tell me that I could use a slice of pizza and a beer. So maybe I shouldn't listen to my body, but listen to your truck. If it calls for a park regen, it's telling you that it's time to get everything clean. And if it's been a couple 100,000 miles since you got it done last, it's going to get done. And then you're good for that amount of time. Let's see, running low temp regen. We'll scroll through here to see. Oh yeah, do it in your DOT expense. See, Mara, you are a smart fella, smart lady. All right, so Jay, I'm gonna whip it out and stick it in your face. Hold on a second. This is what I recommend: Clean Air Fleet. And Brian Bond, if you're still on here, you can attest to this. And if Clinton Kirker was here, he would say the same thing. Clean Air Fleet. We do sell Clean Air Fleet. If you want to learn more about and you want to get 10% off on some additive, hang on a second here. Why are you there? Clean Air Fleet. This is, we'll do the trick for it. Now also, like Hot Shot Secret does a good job too. But so this is like Hot Shot Secret, but it also will drop the water onto your fuel. So you want to make sure you don't have any water in your fuel. Water causes all sorts of chaos with your injectors and engine. It'll lubricate your entire fuel system, including your fuel pump. It will break up any carbon buildup that is in your injectors and everything else. And you will actually, potentially, we can't say, legally that'll give you better gas mileage, but it'll give you better fuel economy as well. The goal being that the fuel economy will pay for the additive, and then the rest of the benefits are come along for free. So Clean Air Fleet, look up, just Google Clean Air Fleet, or if you text us at 404-999-1361, I can get you an order form so you can order some of this. $36.50 per gallon. 1 gallon will treat 320 gallons of diesel fuel. And we sell them in cases of 4 gallons. We can ship them pretty much anywhere for $50-$60. But we do keep it in stock in Atlanta. So if you ever come by and want to buy some Clean Air Fleet, we'll sell you, 1 gallon if you want. But we recommend getting enough to, do at least 1,000 gallons from the diesel fuel, which would be a 4-gallon case. So that's the additive we recommend, and it is manufactured and distributed out of Wisconsin, which is not far from you. I think there's actually a distributor in Michigan as well. We would love to sell some to you directly, but no need to get it from us if you can get it more efficiently from somebody closer to you. So make sure that you let them know that DPF Guys sent you. Peak torque too low, et cetera, et cetera. And you can tune some of that stuff too. A lot of low temp regens number. So yeah, the 7th injector is not hard to pop out and clean as long as you don't break the bolts. Yeah, so Brian Bond just said, use clean air fluid, that helps. And that's just what I was talking about, is clean air fluid. Brian Bond, a friend of the channel, a friend of the DPF Guys, his biggest complaint with Clean Air Fleet is that he's from California and there's really no place that sells it out there. And we're working on that. Oh man, a little whiskey in your tea really goes a long way. Checking out some stuff. Okay. Thank you very much for this question. It's a very good question. Does a Cummins 6.7 engine have a 7th injector? And the answer is no. The Cummins 6.7 does in-cylinder injection, in-cylinder dosing. So when you do a regen, whether it be passive, while you're a rolling regen, or active or parked, what happens is, instead of adding the unburned diesel fuel through the 7th injector, it actually uses the fuel injectors themselves, and it will dose additional diesel fuel. Now, Mara, you can tell me whether the dose happens at the power stroke or the exhaust stroke. But what it does is the injector goes just for a millisecond or two, adds some additional diesel fuel in there, and so it's actually dosing right in the cylinder. But at the same time, what that's doing is, because the injectors have to fire more often than they were originally designed for, that's why instead of lasting for 500,000 miles before they begin to fail, they fail at about 250,000. So there's your Cummins 6.7. And then Mara, you said something that uses cylinders 1 through 3. So Mara, are you saying on the 6.7, when it does the in-cylinder dosing, it only doses on cylinders 1 through 3? I didn't know that. That's something new. Of course, I could be interpreting your comment here incorrectly. So let me know if I'm understanding what you're saying. Yes. Okay. So I wonder if we took a series of 6.7s that were running dirty and just replace, the injectors for cylinders 1 through 3, if those are the ones that are actually bad, or the ones that would wear first. So maybe you only need to replace 3 of the injectors. That's kind of interesting. Mara, as always, you are a sharp cookie. You are what I would call a squeaky cheese curd. Yeah, I agree. The thing is, sometimes you can't even find them. And I would also, excuse me, being rude as I wipe my nose in front of all you. And Mara, I don't know how you feel about reman injectors versus non-reman ones. But I've heard mechanics that kind of sneer at the reman ones, saying that the failure rate's way too high. Mara, what's your thought on reman versus original non-reman ones? Okay. You know what? And actually, honestly, oftentimes they don't even really reman them. They just, they're basically new injectors, and maybe they're just using a couple of pieces on them. But okay, aha. Do you have a Cummins 6.7, or what truck? What engine are you running there? So Mara, we've got this gentleman here. Is got injector number one was on his International 4300, which we talked about. Injector number one was leaking a bunch of was overfueling cylinder number one. So I'm thinking, Mara, let me know if you concur. Maybe in a 6.7 that's following this DPF. Don't replace 4, 5, 6. Just replace 1, 2, and 3, which would cut your parts price in half, $1,200 versus $2,500. So that's going to be something that I'm going to talk more about very soon once I have a better idea about that. But so they're not dosing. They're not doing hydrocarbon dosing from all 6 injectors, only the first 3. Interesting. Smart, but interesting. Yeah, I mean farm use, there's also I've got some customers with DD15s that are rail yards, and so they've got a Detroit powered vehicles that are cranes, and I mean those things are just creeping around. They might get up to 25 miles per hour once in a while, but basically they've got no miles on them, get a ton of hours. Same thing, just like farm equipment. So running an additive on those things is not a bad idea. Okay, anybody, I'm going to put you all on the spot. Who is not following me on TikTok? If you're not following me, I'll look away. Just follow me quick, and then we'll all be friends again. And if you could, do me a solid. Jump over to youtube.com/DPF Guys and subscribe to our channel, because if I do anything super cool over on YouTube, I don't want you to miss it. Well, you'll get, how do you know, again, Mara might weigh in on this as well, but how do you know if you've got a bad EGR cooler in a Cummins 6.7? Now, it depends what you mean by bad. Bad in that you're saying plugged up, or bad in that leaking? Bad leaking. If it's leaking coolant, obviously you're going to potentially see kind of a white steam coming out of the tailpipe. You'll be losing coolant. Hopefully that's not the case. You'll see EGR pressure differential codes. And you also can just kind of, clog. You also can just pop off the EGR valve, take a look at it. But you definitely, if you're coming up to a couple 100,000 miles on that thing, I'd recommend getting the EGR cooler cleaned before it plugs up, because there's a point where it gets plugged up, you just can't clean it anymore. So you really need to just kind of, if you're not getting any codes, kind of visually inspect it. There's a delta P, a pressure differential sensor up in that EGR cooler, especially in the 6.7s, it's got tiny holes in it that'll get plugged up with soot, with carbon, and you basically can pop that thing off, run a piece of mechanics wire through it, get those holes cleaned out. So basically, he's asking about how do you know if it's plugged up with soot? If you don't have a code other than popping an EGR valve off and looking in, I would say that you've got a 6.7, it was coming up to around 200,000 miles. it wouldn't be a bad idea to pull an EGR cooler and clean it. And just so you know, we do pressure test the EGR coolers before we clean them and after we clean them, because sometimes the cleaning process will, there'll be a weld inside that's about to go bad, or there'll be tiny pinholes in it that are actually plugged up with the soot. We get the soot out, it'll begin to leak. So we do pressure test it before and after. Yeah, Delta P is plugged. That happens a lot of times to EGR cooler. Oh man, I'm going to Google that code here in a minute. Have code SPN 520349 FMI something on DD15. Mara, do you know that code offhand? Do you know if by memory? It might be one you have memorized. All right, you got a 2008 Ford F-250, 65,000 on it. Not a lot of miles. I wonder how many hours are on that thing. We were being told that the particulate filter is plugged. Wouldn't surprise me with an 08. I mean, that's 16 years. That could absolutely be cleaned. They're going to want to sell you a new DPF assembly on that thing. It's going to run you $5,000-6,000. You might have to wait for weeks or even months for one to come in. No matter where you're located, Mike Martin, you can ship that to us. We can clean it. Now, if we find out that it can't be cleaned because it's cracked or melted or whatever it is, we just had one come in last week, in fact. And the guy's like, "Oh, my DPF isn't working right. My truck is, it won't even crank over anymore." And so we thought he had a plugged up DPF. We opened that thing up, and the DPF basically fell apart into pieces. The SCR it looked like someone shot a plasma rifle through it. And then he goes, "Oh yeah, I did put some gasoline in my diesel tank once." And I'm like, dude, so that was the problem. Basically, he just burned everything up. So we didn't charge him anything for that cleaning because we didn't clean anything. But he ended up finding a used DPF on like Facebook Marketplace and brought it to us. And we cleaned it and put it on the truck. The truck's running like top. So it's just my DPF is just dirty. Oh, by the way, now that you mention it, I did put gasoline in the diesel tank. Maybe that has something to do with it. Yeah, you think? No, there's no aftermarket for any of those Ford, those 6.4s, anything like that. There's aftermarket for the big Class 8 stuff, but not for the medium duty. Wait a second, Mara, I'm contradicting you. I asked if there was one. There is an aftermarket option. Oh my God. Okay, Mara, I stand corrected. Like I said, you are the squeaky cheese curd here. So, well, I'll be dang. So, tell you what. Yeah, Mara, thanks for looking up that code. I appreciate it. So, Mike Martin, apparently there's an aftermarket for your F-250. I'll be danged. Yeah, I misread that. That has to do with putting whiskey in my tea. There is an aftermarket option for the 614. I did not know that. American Iron, welcome aboard. Hello, hello. So Alliant Power out of Wisconsin. Oh man, I tell you what, Mara, don't forget what we're talking about here because I'm going to want to remember this tomorrow. Screenshot like crazy. I don't know if the PX7 is the same as the Cummins 6.7. Probably, except it's gray or green. But I haven't seen any of the PX7s coming in here. So I don't know. Maybe it's not. It's a good question, though. Screenshotting like a madman. I get some stuff to follow up on. Oh, it is. Okay. So PX7 and Cummins 6.7 are PACCAR PX7 and Cummins 6.7 are essentially the same engine, but I have not gotten the same volume of service requests out of a PX7 as I have out of the Cummins 6.7. So either there's just that many more 6.7s out there, or the PX7 is handling things a little differently and it doesn't have the same problems. It's amazing that no matter how much I think I know, you get the right people on something like this, such as Mara, the squeaky cheese curd. I learned so much. I realize how much I still have to learn, and that's kind of exciting. Yeah, so there's I know we do DPFs for some of those big heavy haul trucks for mining, and the DPFs are so big they won't even fit in some of our equipment. So I can imagine. I mean, all of that stuff has to have emissions on it eventually if it doesn't have it already. Oh, soot sensor. Okay. That's an easy one. Soot sensors don't even have a core on them, so which is nice because then you can just cut them off and hammer them out with an impact. Definitely soaking good with a good penetrant. We recommend. Oh, if the DPF spread, that's okay. Sorry, I thought it was actually a failed soot sensor. So so if you've got if your DPFs on that are breached, I would definitely, or DPFs are, they're cracked. I want to find out. And so what I'd want to do, the guy that's got that code on that Detroit, check your tailpipe, check your stack. Is there any soot at all on your stack or tailpipe? I mean, at all. So if you're like, well, there's not much, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's like being a little pregnant. If there's soot on your tailpipe, you have cracked DPFs, which means that your soot sensor is just doing what it should be doing. It's smelling soot. It's notifying you. But if you do not have any soot at all, if your pregnancy test is negative, then you just have a soot sensor that's bad. So if you do have soot in your tailpipe, you'll need new DPFs, and you probably have 600,000 miles on that truck, and you have not done an overhead. You might have some low compression that is cracking those DPFs. I've had injector and compression issues crack DPFs after 20,000 miles. So if you do not have soot in your tailpipe, it's probably a problem with the soot sensor. If you do have soot in your tailpipe, even a little, just like being a little pregnant, that means you've got cracked DPFs. And your soot sensor is fine. It's just telling you that it's telling you it smells soot. Kind of like a carbon monoxide sensor. If it's going off, it probably smells carbon monoxide. Or if you buy a second carbon monoxide sensor and that one doesn't go off, this one still is, it's probably a failing carbon monoxide sensor. So check for any soot on your tailpipe or your stack. Any soot means you have a cracked DPF, and your soot sensor is just giving you a code telling you that it's smelling soot. You get new DPFs, and then find out what the root cause is for the failure of those DPFs in the first place. Most likely an injector or low compression issue. And Mara, thank you for looking up that code. I really appreciate it. Man, I tell you what, it's the only thing, Daniel. It's kind of like grilling on an electric grill. it does the job, but it doesn't have that same, that can you imagine going to a hot rod pickup race and those things are, roaring down the quarter mile and lifting the front end off the ground and there's no there's no smoke coming out of the stack. You'd be like, am I taking crazy pills? But yeah, so that would be interesting. But I think one of the big things about going to a big hot rod pickup race is seeing the soot come out of the stacks. It's strictly cosmetic, but it would be odd not to see it. Reminds me, I'm going to date myself here. It used to be legal to smoke in bars. You remember that? And I never was really a smoker, but I remember like it just didn't seem right going to a bar and it wasn't smoky. It's like going to a bowling alley and you're like, it doesn't feel like a bowling alley anymore. So a hot rod pickup, even if it's still putting out 1,000 horsepower and still doing everything that a hot rod pickup does, it would seem odd to go to the racetrack and not see the columns of smoke flying out of the stacks. I get used to it though. Oh yeah, I remember that was smoking and non-smoking sections of restaurants. All of that. I remember first flight I took. I sat non-smoking, but then I wanted more room, so I walked back to the smoking section and sat back there, and because there was nobody back there at the time. All right, and again, shameless plug. If you're not following me on TikTok, please do, because I'd hate to have you pop in here and pop off without giving me a follow. And jump over to youtube.com/DPF Guys and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss anything that is shaken over there as well. All right, so I hate to let you go. Partying is such sweet sorrow, but I need to get something to eat. I am hungry. And what I've got waiting for me is one of those stuffed chickens from Buc-ee's. I don't know if anybody's had that. They're like $17, $18 a piece, but they're stuffed with either dirty rice or jambalaya. And oh my girdle, those things are heavenly. So if you drive by Buc-ee's, pick yourself up one of those frozen stuffed chickens. They're fantastic. They're already deboned. I mean, it should be illegal. Not as good as a squeaky cheese curd, but right up there. Anyway, so I want to say thank you to everybody who joined the live tonight. Much appreciated. Mara, you are, I would ring my bell. I just don't have one here. Ding, ding, ding. You get the guest of the day. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to see you. Stroker, hello. Good to see you. You caught me just as I was saying goodbye. Mara, you have a good night as well. I'm going to want to talk to you about those aftermarket 6.4 parts. Thank you, everybody who asked a question. If anybody needs to get a hold of me, just Google DPF Guys and find your phone number. Text us or text 404-999-1361. That's 404-999-1361. And somebody asked about a 6.4. We get all that stuff done. I hope to do more videos. Mara, if you want to check out the codes that I was talking about with that guy that's stuck in Phoenix, before you log off of TikTok, go to my page and look at the video that I recorded last night. I go through all the codes and everything else and see if there's any ideas you have. I do think it's a death header. But all of that, I say cheers to all of you. Thank you for joining the live. And, please follow me. Go to youtube.com/DPF Guys. Subscribe to the channel. Have a good rest of your night and a very safe and productive week. And I'll see you again soon. Take care. Whew. All right. Anybody who's out there watching on YouTube, that was a love fest on TikTok. That was fantastic. Thanks for everybody who watched on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook, and especially those who asked some really good questions on TikTok as well. But Anyway, so that's episode 41 in the can. And I look forward. I'm going to see how this kind of, let me know how you liked this format where I was, basically spent the entire time on TikTok answering the questions. And if you do have any questions at all, please feel free to text or call us at 404-999-1361, 404-999-1361. And other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful week and be safe, be productive, and be in touch if you need us for anything. Thanks for watching.
The skills, the might to get your truck rolling clean into the night. Throttle up, feel that clean airflow. Our service so slick, your ride seals the show. DPF Guys, we got the fifth so fine. Hit the road with confidence, now the world's your shrine. Bring in that rig, let's get